How will this technology change your life?
He was using university servers at night to mine for Bitcoin and some altcoins.
In that respect, what would you say the real purpose of cryptocurrency is?
The real purpose is creating a better version of money. Simple as that.
Well, thank you very much for coming today. The reason we invited you to come and speak to us was to learn more about DagCoin and the vision for DagCoin, because we've been hearing quite a lot about DagCoin recently.
Thank you for reaching out. I'm more than happy to spend some time here with you and to answer your questions.
Thank you. So let's get going.
Absolutely.
So the first question is very simple. Tell us more about you.
I'm one of the founders of a cryptocurrency called DagCoin. Currently, I'm a CVO, the Chief Visionary Officer of the currency, and we are working on building I would say, the first usable cryptocurrency that there really is.
You said that your job role was Chief Visionary Officer. So what would you say your vision for a better world would be as a consequence of DagCoin?
As a consequence of DagCoin, I would more say that as a consequence of technology, because DagCoin is just something that is built on the technology, but the important thing is technology and what that can do. And it's especially the distributed ledger technology, blockchain, DagChain, any other version of a distributed ledger, which actually changes the world completely from what it is today to something that I would say it's more fair, it's more accessible, it's more equal, more transparent. And I would really like to see a lot of people having more possibilities and more control of their own lives than they have today.
Okay. So if you say you want people to have more control of their lives and what they're doing. So if they're using, obviously, as a consequence of the technology, if let's say you're a person living now in Botswana, how will this technology change your life? So you're a guy just like you, same age, same hopes and ambitions. Like, how do you see it impacting that person's life and making it better?
I'm personally not very much aware of the situation in Botswana, how it is. I can just assume. And of course, it also depends what kind of life that young person is having. If, for example, he is from a wealthy family, then probably he doesn't have too many challenges in life. But there are a lot of people who have a lot of challenges. And I would say one of the biggest things that technology can actually give people is access to money. Everybody has cash, which they can use. But access to money is having access to digital money. And everything that is digital, almost everything, is also global. So if you have money which you can use globally, that means you can buy or sell something, let's say a product or a service from other countries, from other counties, from other cities, then that is a big advantage. It's also an advantage for people to maybe be able to have some welfare payments from the governments. Local, let's say that young man is working on his father's land, for example. They have a small patch where they grow some vegetables or crops, and they want to sell it. Right now, the only possibility where they can sell it is to the local whole buyer. That whole buyer, of course, makes a lot of money because he doesn't have much competition. He says, I will buy for this price, you take it or leave it. But now, having access to internet, having access to technology, having access to digital money gives that family the possibility to sell the same crops much further. They can sell it to the manufacturer. They can maybe sell it to the manufacturer in some other country, in some other continent, which means the people who are really working hard on the field, they will get much more money for that.
So in that respect, would you say it could be seen in some sense as an extension to fair trade, giving people at the bottom who are creating something an opportunity to get a more fair price than they would get maybe from buyers in their local area or people,
It is
people monopolizing
most
the market?
definitely, it's something that enhances that, for sure, 100%.
So what got you first interested in cryptocurrencies?
When I was studying in IT in university, then I had a schoolmate who was telling me about this. That was in 2010, I think so. And he was using university servers at night to mine for Bitcoin and some altcoins. And he told me to join with him on this venture. I wasn't really interested. And then a few years after that, when cryptocurrency started to get more traction in the media, I started to look more into it. And then there were some companies that started promoting different cryptocurrencies, and it caught my attention. I started learning about it, seeing what there is on the market, experimenting, testing here and there. So for the past, I think now about 4 or 5 years, I have been somewhat in the industry, looking around, seeing what companies are doing, how they're developing, what they're focusing on. And it was quite fast when I understood that the vision, the initial goal of cryptocurrency, and I understood what it can do, how much it can influence the whole world, how much it can change. But unfortunately, there are not too many companies focusing on the right things. And that is one thing that pushed me to work stronger in the industry, and to create something that would have the focus on the real purpose of what cryptocurrency really is about.
So in that respect, what would you say the real purpose of cryptocurrency is?
The real purpose is creating a better version of money. Simple as that. Not being a financial instrument or not being a speculative tool. It's just money. Same things that we use euros or dollars or shillings for. The same thing we have to be able to use cryptocurrency for, and we have to be able to rely on the currency, trust it.
Mm-hmm. But obviously, in that respect, if you talk about kind of the mainstream world, most people on the street, they don't really trust cryptocurrencies, at least not right now.
Absolutely not.
Why would you say they don't trust them, and how would you say that DagCoin could build that trust that other cryptocurrencies haven't?
I believe there's a few reasons why people don't trust. One of the main ones is the price volatility, how much the price fluctuates, and I think this is so far the biggest obstacle for people to really start using cryptocurrency, which actually by nature it's much more convenient and faster way and much more liberal way to use your money. On the other hand, if you accept, or let's say you get paid in cryptocurrency, and after a few days the price is 10% less or 20% less or even more, then what do? You won't have enough money to actually survive the whole month. So stability is something that is crucial when it comes to money. And I believe where everything went wrong is that the community has, they want to think that cryptocurrency is same as money. And if fiat currencies, they are valued based on supply and demand, then crypto should be valued the same way. But how did fiat currencies get started at first place? They were backed by something. They were pegged to a fundamental value. Initially, it was metals. It was gold. So only once the community was huge and stable, that is when when the valuation model for fiat currencies changed. So I believe the same way should be done with cryptocurrencies. That in the beginning it should be, let's say, based on some fundamental value. And once the community is huge, and it's huge is not millions or tens of millions, the community should be hundreds of millions of people. Only then it is wise to go on a, let's say, free market valuation model, because then everything is stable. Media cannot affect a currency that much then. Right now, whatever you want to write, you can put it up on the internet. Whether people believe it or not, it depends where you put it up. And there is so much rubbish and there's so much noise about different currencies, and people don't know what to believe. They like to believe the good things, but there are also a lot of bad things going out there. So that is something that really affects the belief into the currency, therefore also the price changes. It is something that should be avoided, I believe, and that is one thing that we really want to avoid. Therefore, DagCoin is valued by fundamental parameters, the size of the community, users and merchants. And in a later stage, of course, there will be usage as well, how many transactions are being done, and different features of the ecosystem, like possibilities, what you can do with the currency. And the final stage is, of course, free market. But for that, the community has to be big, it has to be stable. And that's the only way how to actually build up a currency.
Okay, in what countries do you think DagCoin will make the most impact and can be adopted into the economic frameworks of the countries the easiest?
The easiest? That's a tough one. Because there is in the regulations, there are so many changes. There are countries that say we support cryptocurrencies. We don't support. Now we support again. No, we don't support, but now we're thinking about what to do. I believe it's just a game. How I see the situation right now is that there is a group of crypto enthusiasts who see that crypto is something where we can hide everything we do, where we can do things anonymously. I don't think it's the right approach, because what is really needed is full transparency. Transparency is needed from our side, the users, and also from the government side. So what we actually want to do is we want to create a system where all the transactions, they're transparent. What the users do, what the businesses do, what merchants do, the same way what governments do. Because when I've been talking with different I would say entrepreneurs in various countries, also government people, government officials on different levels, what I've found out is that a lot of people are not fond of paying taxes. And the reason for that is that there is no trust. They see that, yeah, we pay the taxes, but what is the tax money used for? That politicians promise that it's used for this and that, but actually it's not used for those things. There is no improvement in those areas. And this is the place where I see that proper cryptocurrency can actually come in the game. What is important for the governments is that they see what their people do. What is important for criminals, that nobody sees what they do. Cash is very easy to use for crime. Right now, a lot of cryptocurrencies are also very easy to use for crime. But if the system is built in a way that there is full transparency through the chain explorer, then this is something that governments would be much more prone to accept. Because why governments are playing right now, we support, we don't support, they're trying to win time. Everybody knows that crypto is the direction where to go to. There are so many benefits over fiat money. Every government knows that. Their challenge is to make sure that cryptocurrency is not used for crime. And if we manage to build up a system in a way that the regular people all can have access to cryptocurrency. All of the transactions are transparent, all of them are visible, that the government can see that. I don't need to see what you do, Mark, and you don't need to see what I do, but there is an authority that actually needs to know that we are not doing any crime. Make sense? The same way, I don't need to see exactly that, that government department is gathering that much money and now they're using for that and that and that. But there has to be an authority that we can trust, that can have access to all of those reports, which are recorded on the chain. That means they are true. And if we know that that kind of authority exists, we can trust that whatever we pay for taxes, it actually goes for the right thing. And this is something that can actually bring out a lot of black business and turn it into white. Governments will have a lot of tax money coming in, and what we feel is that, healthcare is getting better, educational system is getting better, the whole infrastructure is getting better. This is the result. And this is actually the approach that every cryptocurrency should have. This is the approach that we have and that we follow. And I believe this is something that actually governments can really work with, because it is an improvement. It's not a hole where criminal things can be moving.
But obviously you said that it's like creating an authority that is able to see all of this information. Obviously I can't see your transactions, I can't maybe see what the different government transactions are, but what kind of authority would be created? Would it be a new government department? Would it be an independent kind of non-profit or organization? How would it be done? Would it be done on a national level? Would it be done on an international level? How would that actually work? And also, how would I know, or that the tax that you obviously paid went to, let's say it went to the education department? How would you know where that money then went?
Yeah. So it can be many ways. It can be a government department. It can be an independent auditing authority. The important thing is that whatever information there is, it is stored in a chain. Is it blockchain? Is it tag chain? I believe all of different distributed ledgers, they can and they will coexist. It's not that blockchain is bad and tag chain is good, or tag chain is bad and blockchain is good. Different ledgers have their own purposes, and then something is better for a certain area, and some other thing is better for another area. So all of this information, all of these transactions, and transaction is also exchange of information, for example. All of them, they're stored, and we don't need to trust anybody. We don't need to trust other people. We don't need to trust any organization, but everything is stored, and we just know that the technology is built up in a way that it is correct, that it is true.
Mm-hmm. I think, if you take the majority of people, they obviously want to know that information is safe. Mm-hmm. So if I make a transaction to you or to anybody, or I pay something, people want to know that information is safe. It's not going to be misused in any way. So they have to know that the authority that's able to view this information, or the government department that's able to view it, that it wouldn't be misused or abused in some way. Like how do you see that process working?
Well, misusing information, this kind of information, if it's happening today, I'm sure in some countries it's happening more, in some countries it's happening less, but it's something that this information is out there anyways. As of today, most probably there is no records of who is accessing that information. if we use distributed ledger technologies, then we can have immutable information on who has access to which information. If you work in any country's tax authority today and you want to spy on somebody, you go, you see the information, later on you erase the logs, and nobody sees that you were seeking for some kind of information. Thanks to this distributed ledger technology, you cannot erase any logs. So it is something that you know that if you do something bad, and if somebody wants to check, they will find out. I think this is a very big step forward. Generally, there is, of course, there is possibility that, I don't trust the system, I don't trust the technology, but a better technology in any case is better than a worse technology. And using distributed ledgers, then it is way better than systems that there are today.
So if you say use that example, if you take someone like Maduro in Venezuela, they were talked about, he's kind of laundered like hundreds of millions from the government. And you can talk about maybe other government officials and leaders all around the world. So would you say when you have that information and when it can't be deleted or changed, can you see that there's going to be potentially much less government corruption?
Absolutely.
Than there is right now?
Absolutely. This is what initially crypto community was focusing on. The whole purpose of this technology is to minimize the level of corruption. So in some countries it will be very fast. There are even governments that are very, very keen on becoming completely transparent. There are governments that are not so keen on that, where it will take much longer time. But if there are already a few good examples where the government departments and all the processes, the systems are transparent, and let's say in our country it's not transparent, then the people in our country, they're going to raise up, they're going to, hey, come on, why can't we have something like that? Those people there, everything is transparent, everything is honest, we want the same thing. And this is what is needed, and this is how it will change. Even the most corrupt countries, if they are surrounded by transparency, there is actually no reason, and there is much less possibility for them to be corrupt. Because usually what's happening, the government funds, they're moving out of the country. Where can they move if the majority is already transparent?
But on that note, you talk about how cryptocurrencies were developed to kind of reduce corruption and increase transparency, but yet many governments around the world, especially in what people see as like open democracies, are very, not afraid maybe, they're very skeptical, because a lot of the cryptocurrencies, like you said earlier, are being used for crime. That because people can cover their tracks. Where do you see that it went wrong?
I think criminals, they're very sharp people, and wherever there is a loophole, they will use it. I don't think it has gone very wrong in that sense. There are systems that are being used by corrupt people every day, especially new systems. They are the ones who actually find the loopholes, and then the good guys are the ones who are gonna patch them up and improve the system. That's how every system is being developed. So I think it's a process, and this kind of starting or learning process for the whole crypto sphere is it's in the beginning. Crypto is not here yet. It's far from that. It will take maybe 5 years, maybe even 10 years for really to get to people's minds that there is such thing that is actually good. So I would say everybody who is right now in the crypto sphere is a pioneer, and we are in complete jungle. So there are a lot of things that will improve. But meanwhile, we need to keep in mind and we need to understand that the system is not perfect yet. And everything that is not perfect, it can be abused, but that's only for a short period of time. Things will change.
So you were talking earlier about how governments obviously become more transparent and more accountable when they're using cryptocurrencies like DagCoin. But when you have economic issues in a country, for example, when let's say the government wants to decrease interest rates or maybe put in a cash stimulus into the economy, those kinds of things, when you have a certain percentage, for example, of a cryptocurrency on the market, it makes that much, much harder. Mm-hmm. So how do you see governments overcoming those economic issues when cryptocurrencies reach a certain saturation level?
That's a tricky question. There are possibilities in cryptocurrency that you will have a fixed supply, fixed amount of coins, or you don't have it fixed. You have unlimited supply. And what I personally believe is that eventually every country in the world will have their own cryptocurrency. I mean, Europe will use a common one, hopefully. But the way government cryptocurrencies will be built is definitely in a way that governments can do those injections. So if the supply is unlimited, they can issue more coins where or when they need. Now, what I believe also is that there will be 4, 5, 6 global currencies that actually belong to the people. And those are something that really will be trusted by people. A government cryptocurrency, it's a better version of fiat currency. But a people's cryptocurrency is something that gives huge benefits to the users, and especially to the early adopters, because no government will give you or me or anybody else a possibility to actually capitalize on the currency itself. But the people's currency is built the way that today most cryptocurrencies are built, that when it's small, when it's not popular, when it's not really usable or used, the value is much lower. And when it grows bigger and becomes more usable, the value is higher. So I believe there will be these 4 or 5 currencies that will give huge financial benefits to the people who start to use them. And the government cryptocurrencies, they are just it is kind of like a symbiosis of fiat currency and a people's cryptocurrency.
Kind of like a hybrid.
Kind of like a hybrid.
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between, yeah. So that the government, they can still operate in the way that they are used to, till the moment there comes better solutions. And people, they will be able to, of course, use the government cryptocurrency, but thanks to transparency, the governments should be and hopefully are also accepting those global currencies, which people would want to use more.
And that creates a question in itself: is obviously if the governments are creating their own currencies and you've got your kind of a few global currencies, how do those, if the government allows obviously those currencies to be used within their territory, how would you see them coexisting with each other?
I don't see any big problem in that, as I don't I don't believe that there would be a possibility for everybody to use one currency. It's not just possible. I prefer something, you prefer something else, and that's how people are. But even today there are systems where you can actually swap one currency to another very quickly, and well, today the fees are still quite high. But in the future, what I believe is that swapping between one crypto to another is instant and bears basically no cost. So how things will work out, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But one possible scenario for sure is that people they usually hold in one currency, but when they want to pay, then there's a quick swap, and the merchant accepts the other currency. Mm-hmm. The same way that right now a lot of companies are actually using crypto and fiat exchange for that. So all of these cards, Visa or MasterCards, or these platforms that say that now you can use crypto in hundreds of thousands of hotels, or you can book your tickets, or you can purchase vouchers. All what they do is they take crypto from you, they exchange it to fiat currency, and they pay euros or dollars to the merchant, to the hotel. And it's not really accepting cryptocurrency, right? And there are huge fees involved in that. But when it's crypto to crypto, then this already makes a little bit sense. But at the same time, it can't be this way that you have a separate cryptocurrency for every industry. You buy your groceries with grocery coin, and you pay for gas with gas coin, and you pay your rent with rent coin. That doesn't make sense. But if, let's say, in one country, let's say in Europe, there is euro coin, and you are holding DagCoin, then wherever you want to pay in Europe, then it instantly swaps from one to another. Then it's not that confusing. But at the same time, you know that if I'm holding my assets in DagCoin, it's a currency that has limited supply. Nobody devalues the currency. So you feel more secure, but at the same time, wherever you can use it, there's a quick swap, and it's paid in the local currency. I think that is one very possible scenario that can happen in the future.
So you see basically a world where you hold a particular currency. It might be euro coin, but you might go to somewhere or another country, another area, another vendor which accepts another, and you can use your currency, but it's just simply converted as you pay.
Exactly. But that conversion, it has to be super cheap. It's ridiculous to pay high conversion fees. I understand that right now a lot of companies are doing that because they can. And people are so excited about the cryptocurrency that they're willing to pay 5% or 10% fees even. But it doesn't make any sense. I think it's wrong. The purpose of crypto is make things easier, faster, more convenient, more accessible. Why to make it more expensive? So I believe exactly this conversion in the future, it should be and it will be very cost effective and very fast.
So in what way do you think DagChain technology helps to do that?
Well, DagChain technology, it helps to create a currency that is scalable and a lot of people can use, a currency which hopefully will become one of those global currencies. DagChain technology itself, it doesn't help in creating those conversions, swaps. But it's definitely something that can work with other currencies and that can work with other technologies. It is just one technology on which different coins can be built on. So I believe that DagChain as a technology is suitable for a large scale cryptocurrency, for a large-scale currency, money.
In that sense, what would you see would be the differences between the blockchain and the DAG chain in terms of that scalability to becoming one of these kind of top, 5 or 6 global currencies?
As of today, blockchain is not scalable yet. It's a possibility that it will be improved, and in the future, the amount of transactions that can be done on blockchain is much higher, and hopefully it will happen. I'm not a big fan of patching something, so building scalability layers on something. I'm much more interested in creating something that is already scalable by its core architecture. That is what DAG chain is about. In the first layer, in the core, being scalable. So if you look 10 years into the future, then of course we don't know what will be the best or the most scalable technology. Yet we can assume, we can predict how many transactions, when we talk about money, then how many transactions are being done in the world today and how many will be maybe done in the future. Then when we talk especially about money and using money, doing payments, then if there's a cryptocurrency that can do a few 100,000 transactions per second, then that is more than enough. So I would say that the DAG chain is very suitable for small communities, big communities and very big communities. Blockchain as of today is only suitable for small communities. It's not suitable for something global. In the future, might be, but as of today, there are challenges, and therefore DAG chain for sure is much better version or much better technology to use for the underlying technology of a cryptocurrency that is aiming to be one of those global currencies.
But with DagCoin, for example, obviously it's based on DAG chain, which is more scalable than the blockchain. But DagCoin, for example, has a finite number of coins, which is about 9 billion. If you take a big cash economy, for example, like India, they have in circulation maybe around $500 billion US dollars worth of rupees. And there's only 9 billion DAG coins. So if even a small percentage of the Indian population starts using DAG coins, anything around $1, $2, $10 or more, or even sometimes more, becomes a price in the shop which is 0.1 or 0.0009. How do you see? I see that as a big problem in scalability, because nobody wants to go to the shop or the online store and figure out all of these 0.00 or 0 point something prices. It's very difficult to calculate how much do I have, how much does this cost.
Absolutely, that would be a huge challenge, right? But how it's built is that one DAG coin, one DAG itself is 1,000 millidags, and 1 millidag is 1,000 microdags. So when the value of one DAG becomes very high, then we will every day we will use millidags. So we will use a smaller denomination of a DAG.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is it becomes a reverse of a fiat currency. So if we go back 50 years or so, you could go to the shop now and buy, obviously we didn't have euros then, but if you take something like pounds, for example, for just a few pence you could go and buy a loaf of bread or a cup of tea, and now it costs £2 or £3 or $2, $3, $4, $5. So this increases, whereas with crypto you're saying it's going to decrease. It's going the opposite way.
It can be taken this way, a little bit. But basically, when we want to have something that is €1 and when one DAG is worth €1,000, then what do? We just use one micro DAG. That will be €1.
So would you say in that sense it's scalable down infinitely?
Not infinitely, but sufficiently.
Okay. Because obviously you've got, as time goes on, the years go on, the generations go on, inflation is obviously increasing all the time. So the currency has to react to that in some way.
Yeah, if you put it in numbers, then there's a very long way to go. There is sufficient scalability in that.
Warren Buffett said that cryptocurrencies will come to a bad end. What do you think made him think like that?
I think he sees what is right now happening on the market. Cryptocurrency is a very speculative tool as of today, and I believe Warren Buffett knows a little bit about markets, and also knows a little bit about market manipulation and how things can affect and how things can end up. I would say that everything that is abused can come to a very bad end, but let's say cryptocurrency, if the industry continues the way that is going right now, I would agree with Warren Buffett. But if we think and talk about how crypto should be and what it's meant for, then I would completely disagree. So changes have to come to the market. Luckily, I see a lot of companies already now focusing, not a lot, but some companies already now focusing on usability and really what crypto is here for. So I see that we are not alone working for the right goal and working for the right future of cryptocurrency. And I believe that there will be a very beautiful story coming, evolving.
In a very simple way, in what ways would you say DagCoin can prove Warren Buffett wrong?
In becoming a stable and usable currency, where people can use that currency on a daily basis. That is a beautiful story. That is a beautiful future. And this is what we are working towards.
Okay. In that sense, how would you say DagCoin makes payments easier, perhaps, than other cryptocurrencies and maybe even regular fiat currencies?
It very much depends on the country, because different areas in the world they are in very different situations. In Europe and in US, there is actually not a big need for cryptocurrency. I mean, it's a very nice to have thing, but especially if you focus on third world countries, Africa, especially where the access to digital money is very, very less, and where the infrastructure for banking is not there. Those are the areas where actually DagCoin can influence the most, and that is where actually cryptocurrency generally will have the biggest impact. And if you give a person access to something that he hasn't had before, money, then how can it change that person's life 180 degrees? So people can actually get paid in a way where they have a credit history. They can use that money in much wider, in much more possibilities than they can actually do with their cash. The cost of any crypto transaction with DagCoin is so small that you don't even feel that. Whereas in a few African countries, there are mobile payments that are very popular, over the cellular network. You know, for us, let's say in Europe, the cost of that transaction is you know, it's cheap. But if you look at the amounts that those people are sending, they're sending small amounts, and the cost percentage-wise of the transaction is very high. So eventually, people who actually have the least, the poorest people, they end up using the most expensive, proportion-wise, most expensive services. And that is wrong. There are companies who can do that, but it's the wrong thing to do. Therefore, cryptocurrency for I would say half the population in the world will make all the transactions cheaper. It will give 2 or 2.5 billion people access to actually banking and money. So that's a huge thing.
You know, when you talked about, right at the very beginning, about a vision, is that maybe something you see as a vision? Like giving 2.5 billion people potentially a bank history and access to money that they don't have right now?
You know, the vision is very simple. You know, giving everybody the access to money, everybody. If we elaborate on that, you know, what can that mean? You know, having access to digital money gives you the banking history. What can it enable? It can give you a possibility to apply for a loan. Like if you can't prove that you have steady income, if you get paid in cash, for example, but you need a loan, you want a loan to maybe start a business, or you are a small, you have a small business, you're selling fruits on the street, or you have a small, let's say, kiosk on the street. You don't use bank, everything is in cash. But if you want to grow bigger and you want a loan for that, what can you do? You have to go to not a loan office, but you have to go a loan shark, who will give you the loan, but you will have to pay a lot more back. And if you don't, then you will lose an arm or a leg. That doesn't seem reasonable. You want to expand your business. Now, but if all of your business is in crypto, then you have all of that transaction history. You can prove to a loan office that, listen, I have a steady income, I have a steady business, I have a lucrative business. I just need a little bit more to scale it.
But that, you know, brings up another question, because there aren't right now, for example, you can have your little business selling fruit or something else, but there isn't right now a credit institution which will, for example, give you a loan in DagCoin directly. How do you see, obviously you can prove what your income is, what you're receiving, but you're going to have to receive that loan in the fiat currency of the country, or potentially maybe even another cryptocurrency that they do allow.
I don't see that as a challenge. Even if I have a business abroad in some other currency, but if I can prove that I have income, then there are loan offices, that credit institutions that are accepting that. And if right now there is no credit institution that will give a loan in DAGs, they will give the loan in some other currency.
Okay, but would you see there potentially being any obstacles in getting to the point where they accept that credit history and they accept that as being proof of steady income to enable a loan in another currency?
As long as the currency grows, as long as the community grows and it becomes more usable, there is more liquidity in the market, which will come over time. Absolutely no obstacle. Throughout this year, there will be several very interesting services coming out that will grow the whole ecosystem of DagCoin very wide. And I think this is the year where we can prove a lot of things, and we can show how a cryptocurrency actually should be growing.
Are you able to tell us any of those things?
Yeah, on the last conference, actually, we revealed a lot of the ecosystem that we're planning for this and next year. So there is something with loans, and there's actually a lot of things that come out. The easiest way is to go on the website and see how much there is and what we're working on.
So, you know, you touched on the developing world, and you touched on, small business owners, but kind of what market sectors and companies do you see taking on board DagCoin the soonest?
Here I guess I would generalize a little bit DagCoin and cryptocurrency as a whole, as I believe that right now it's not the right moment to really much talk about using a cryptocurrency in a sense that when we want to use a currency, the infrastructure has to be there. It doesn't make much sense that if I accept the currency, but my vendor, my suppliers don't accept it, then I have to go through an exchange house to convert this currency to another one. So what I would see is that the wisest approach for cryptocurrencies to actually expand is to expand through merchants who have a very high margin on their products or services, because the amount of people using a cryptocurrency as of today is very small. So if you have 100 customers in your cafe shop and 2 of them pay in cryptocurrency, then you don't even have actually a need to exchange that cryptocurrency back to fiat, because it's such a small part of your daily revenue. These kind of merchants are the best ones to actually start for crypto adoption and crypto expansion. If we go for a merchant who has a very small margin, then for them it's crucial. But every exchange, there's a cost. So it doesn't really make sense to actually accept crypto when you need to exchange it. So when the crypto community expands and it becomes more adopted, then more and more merchants will come on board, and it will give them the possibility that, if I come on board a little bit later, I already might have my vendors who already accept it. As of today, whoever is coming on board is one of the first ones. So as a token of appreciation to the nature of cryptocurrency, or as a faith in the future, a lot of merchants are accepting, and they swallow the bitter fact that I do need to exchange, and the cost becomes a little bit higher. But they just want to support the cause, they want to support the community. It would be, also for the community, it would be the wisest to approach those merchants who have very high margin, because then it's much easier. It's easier for the community, and it is easier for the merchants as well.
But you say that obviously that it works when there's this high margin. So you've got 100, say, customers in the coffee shop and 2 paying cryptocurrency. But, as a business owner, if only 2 customers out of 100 would like to pay in that, is it worth the time and the effort to make it possible to make that payment, that payment option possible for the customers, when they can also probably pay in cash or debit card or maybe even some other way?
The solution for the merchants that we have created, DagPay, it is so easy to set up. It's just a few minutes, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And I don't think that's a long time. It's actually very easy to set up. It's very easy to use. So I'm sure that the benefit that the merchant gets is much, much bigger, because we also have this platform, Merchant Finder, where if you as a merchant accept the currency, if you accept the coins, then you can list yourself there, and the whole community sees that, okay, there is a merchant who accepts the coins. So for 4 or 5 minutes of setting up, you will get a lot of marketing and potentially a lot more attention and a lot more customers.
Obviously, you've got to convince them that this 4 or 5 minutes is worth the time. Because obviously anyone who owns a business, they're doing lots of things. They've got employees, they've got different locations, different products, different things to attend. Is convincing them that 5 minutes is worth it. And also being in this early stage now, what you're in, that they might go a number of days or weeks, perhaps even, without customers using that. And when they do receive money in DagCoins, maybe it's not so regular. But maybe it's not regular, it's not very big, so it's not worth them converting the money back. So they might sometimes maybe have a few, what would be tens of euros or hundreds of euros, that would be potentially maybe much more useful to them in a regular account rather than perhaps now having to convert it back.
If it is something that they would really need to use, then for sure. But if you talk about high margin merchants, then they will anyways have good profits. Therefore, I would say it's a very good investment in a growing cryptocurrency. And in the future, these tens of hundreds of euros, they can be hundreds or thousands of euros. They could be.
Would you say in some respects then that it's, like if you take the cafe example, it's much more of a customer service, a good customer service tactic for a business to take? Because if they say that they accept DagCoin, they accept this coin, they accept this coin, they take their 4 or 5 minutes for all of these various different coins, set up their ecosystems to accept them. Would you say then it's much more calm, you can pay with whichever currency you use, and it's much more of a way to get crypto users to come to their cafe or to use their shop or chain?
Yes, I would say so. Because if I go to a cafe and I see that they accept some cryptocurrency, I'm like, very nice, they're innovative. It shows the same restaurant or cafe from a totally different angle perspective. I think it would be an addition for sure for a merchant.
So we touched on earlier a few examples in the developing world. When do you think the developing world will be ready to start to adopt cryptocurrencies, and perhaps especially DagCoin?
There are so many different countries where there are, even in the developing world, their development level is very different. Some have actually already started to think about it. Some are taking their time. I think the next few years will already show how it evolves, and that it will show the support from the first developing countries on adopting cryptocurrency. The first step, of course, is to support and accept some, let's say, global currency, and then definitely to see if they see that it works and people really like it, then they will definitely come out with their own as well. And eventually, I believe every country will have their own.
You've spoken quite a few times about the DagCoin ecosystem and also what's coming this year. What do you think you're doing, what you're doing sets it apart from what's being done by other cryptocurrencies?
I feel that a lot of cryptocurrencies, they're just focusing on the possibilities of buying and selling, trading, having a financial gain. I don't support that kind of approach. If you focus on the price, then the good benefits of a cryptocurrency don't come out. If you focus on the good benefits, the real values of cryptocurrency, then the price will come by itself, by default. So what is important for people to see and to feel is that the currency is usable, that we can do a lot of things with that. And therefore we are developing so far the widest ecosystem for cryptocurrency that there is. We are focusing on all kinds of different services that people would want to use with their money. And we create those platforms ourselves just to show people how they can use it and give them the possibility to really transact with DagCoins on a daily basis. And I believe this is something that is very unique. The ecosystem is very wide. By end of this year, it's definitely the strongest, and next year we'll make it even wider and stronger. And I believe this is the way how we can show to the people, to the world, how crypto actually works, and that it really works as money, as currency. There are different services for merchants, different platforms for merchants to conveniently accept cryptocurrencies. There are platforms, like I said, for example, Merchant Finder, which will show people where they can, which merchants accept the coins, where they can use their currency. There are different platforms for charities. There are different shopping platforms for auction platform is coming. There is person-to-person exchange coming. There is a marketplace where individuals can sell their own belongings, their own things, whatever they want to sell. Through DagPay, every merchant can actually accept, every business can accept cryptocurrency. There are platforms coming that actually help people to hire somebody, to find a job. There are platforms that are for people who want to have fun, playing games, gamble, for lottery. Different platforms that we would want to use in the financial world for storing money, taking loans, transacting, deposits. Also this year we bring out the ATMs. We bring out the gift cards. There is different payment systems coming out. So there is a lot of things coming out for to show how serious this currency is. And once people understand that this currency is here to be used, that is where I see the biggest growth for the community will come. And once we can show for a large community, and within the large community, how actually cryptocurrency works within a certain community, then this is where the big players will come in. And under big players, I mean big merchant, big platforms, because they want to be innovative, but they can't risk with their business. They cannot go with something that is unstable and something that is insecure. And therefore, they want to see first how a system, how an economy works before they implement it.
Well, thank you very much, Kriss, for sharing your visions and insights into the cryptosphere.
I would say thank you, Mark, for inviting me here. It was a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.